Imagine for a moment that your life is like a tree. You are born as a small seed, and over time you grow, seeking the light, creating roots, branches, and blossoms. But just as in the natural world, not everything that approaches you brings nourishment. Some presences can be like sun and rain, strengthening your growth. Others, however, can be like weeds, draining your energy, limiting your space, suffocating your light. This metaphor of the tree helps us understand something essential. It is not selfish to distance yourself from those who do not contribute to your flourishing. It is an act of preserving life itself. Throughout the journey, inevitably, we encounter people who do not favor our development. Sometimes it happens subtly. Small criticisms, constant comparisons, sarcasm disguised as advice. Other times, it is more evident. Manipulation, devaluation, lack of support. In both cases, if we are not attentive, these relationships can drag us into a state of stagnation or even regression. Philosophy has always reflected on the importance of human relationships. Aristotle once said that man is a social being who needs others in order to realize his own nature. But not every bond is virtuous. The same Aristotle, in his Nicomachean Ethics, distinguished between types of friendship: those based on pleasure, those based on utility, and those based on virtue. Only the latter, on the desire for the others, good, and on mutual growth, truly elevated. Therefore, when we choose to distance ourselves from those who do not favor our development, we are not rejecting humanity itself, but choosing to cultivate only that which is rooted in virtue, reciprocity, and growth. Nietzsche also warned us of the danger of bad company. When he spoke of the concept of the herd, he argued that the majority tend to conform, to cling to patterns, to level downward. And for him, those who wish to become free spirits must break with this collective conditioning, distancing themselves, if necessary, from people who insist on reducing human potential. Nietzsche reminds us, become who you are. But how can we become who we truly are if we remain surrounded by those who push us away from our essence? Another crucial point is understanding that distancing yourself is not an act of hatred, but of love. Viktor Frankl, survivor of the concentration camps and creator of logotherapy, said that man is a being in search of meaning. And if life only finds value when we discover a purpose, then we must surround ourselves with people who not only respect that purpose, but also encourage us to pursue it. To remain beside those who constantly undermine this search is to renounce ourselves. And here arises an important reflection. Why is it so difficult to distance ourselves from those who harm us? Often because we create bonds of attachment, confuse familiarity with love, and grow accustomed to discomfort. It is like someone who has lived too long in a dark room. When a window of light opens, the eyes burn, and the first reaction is to return to the shadows. Distancing requires courage. A rupture with familiar patterns, even when destructive. Stoic philosophy can help us here. Seneca taught that we do not control the actions of others, only our own choices. If someone insists on pulling us down, that is their choice. But to remain in that circle, to allow that influence to destroy us, that is our choice. Distancing, then, is an act of freedom. And freedom is the condition for growth. Let us think of Socrates, who dedicated his life to awakening reflection in others. He sought not to flatter, but to provoke growth. Socrates was condemned precisely because he refused to bend to social pressures that wanted to limit thought. His example shows us that the journey of personal growth often requires distance from that which imprisons the soul. When we choose to distance ourselves from people who do not favor our development, we create space for new relationships, space for people who inspire us, who challenge us in healthy ways, who support us in difficult times. It does not mean living in isolation, but living selectively, choosing company that elevates. Of course, this process can be painful. There are relationships that feel like roots intertwined with ours, and cutting those ties can create a sense of emptiness. But it is a fertile emptiness, like soil that, once cleared of weeds, becomes capable of receiving new seeds. The question that remains is it worth staying where you cannot grow? If life is brief, if each instant is a breath that never returns, we cannot waste energy in relationships that diminish us. Growth demands courage, and courage often demands distance. Therefore, may we be willing to choose wisely those who walk by our side. May we be able to give thanks for what has passed, but not hesitate to move forward. For, as the poet Rainer Maria Rilke once said, "The only homeland of man is the childhood of the future, and to reach that future, we must release the present from what binds us. To distance yourself is not to lose, but to gain the space to become. It is to allow your tree to grow toward the light, no longer suffocated by shadows."